Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and in today's episode, I'm talking with Dana, who, after quite a serious accident, ended up cutting refined sugar and flour from her diet, and to her great surprise, this helped to reverse her diabetes. Dana also discovered intermittent fasting, and this is what you'll hear about in this episode in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. Come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. All right, so here's my chat with Dana. So today I'm talking with Dana, who is sugar-free. And Dana, can you tell us what that means for you, living a sugar-free life? Like what does sugar-free mean for you?
Sugar-free means that I don't eat anything that I read all the labels, and I try not to eat processed food, but I'm still in that process, getting rid of all that. But I stopped sugar in December of 2021, and there's a story there, but I stopped sugar and white flour, and I haven't had any since. I was very, very addicted to sugar for 40 some years. And for me, it's better not to have it than to try to have a little. So a little is worse than none for me.
Yeah.
So
you're an abstainer.
Yes, abstain. Yes. But I'm not completely clean, like as in all whole foods yet. I don't eat a lot of processed foods, but I still do eat, like I eat 0 carb tortillas, for example. Eventually, I would like to get there.
Okay. Yeah, no worry. It's a journey and it's a process.
It is. And the journey part is fun. I mean, when I gave up sugar, I lost 85 pounds, and I started incorporating intermittent fasting, and there have been other things that I've learned along the way, to lots of books, and but yeah, so it's been a journey. I was very, very addicted for many years.
And did you know you were, or did you realize you were after you stopped eating sugar and flour?
No, I realized that, and lately, since we've scheduled this, I've been really digging down into my memory. And the first memory that I have of loving sugar is when I was about 3. I think I was 3 years old, and they had a birthday party for me. And I remember eating the corner of the cake, and I smashed it into my mouth. I loved that taste so much. And then you fast forward to when the polio vaccines came out in 1963. That shows you my age. But in 1963, they had a polio vaccine kind of thing in our little town in West Virginia. And on a Sunday afternoon, after everybody got out of church, everybody went down to a building. I think it was the courthouse, but I'm not really sure. They gave you two little sugar cubes. And I just thought that was the most wonderful thing ever to get sugar cubes as a vaccine. So you know, it's funny that those are the memories that you remember, you know. But then, as I grew, I just sugar became my friend. I've never had a problem being addicted to food because food was, it didn't do anything for me. I mean, yes, it did something for my body, but I mean, emotionally, I didn't crave food. It was sugar. But then it got to be to where I was hiding it. I was hiding, eating sugar. And I remember when before I was married, so I was probably 17 or 18, I used to work at the YMCA, work out, every evening after work, I would work out at the YMCA. But before I got there, I would stop at a convenience store and I would buy 5 Hershey bars. And I would eat all of those before I would get to the gym. And then I would like discard the wrappers and everything so nobody would see. And that started a lifelong, journey. My husband didn't even know how addicted I was to sugar because I'm sort of a photographer, and I would tell him, I'm going to go out and, take pictures, and I would go out for 2 or 3 hours. Well, I would first stop at the donut shop and get a dozen donuts, and I would eat them while I was out. And, things like that, I would just stuff myself with sugar, 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 sugar,
Yeah.
and and there were so many times that I would give it up, like I would give it up for a few months because I wanted to lose weight, and I was able to lose weight. But then, one taste of it would send me on a binge again. I have been on every single diet there ever was, I think, and I just, could never stay. But then in 2021, I broke my femur.
Okay.
And I tripped and broke my femur. And while I was in the hospital, the memory came to me that my grandmother had lost both of her legs to diabetes. And I've been diabetic since I was 40 and still didn't give up the sugar. I even had a heart attack when I was 50 and bypass surgery, and that still did not help me give up sugar. So, but when that happened, and I realized, what if my leg doesn't heal? What if, I've screwed up my life with this sugar? What if my leg doesn't heal? And so I said, okay, this is it. Well, when you break your femur, you can't drive. It was my right leg, so I couldn't drive and go get my sugar. And I had to stay 2 weeks with my daughter because I broke my femur in another city where they live, and I had to stay there until my post-op visit. So, basically I was, in jail at their house, and I couldn't go, and they didn't know that I did this. So basically I went through the withdrawal part with their help, and they didn't realize that they were helping me, but they did.
Uh-huh.
And after that first 2 weeks, I just didn't have that pull to go do it. Plus, I couldn't drive for 3 months.
Yeah.
So
It's a blessing in
it
disguise.
was. It was my brother calls it my lucky break.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Look
And
on the bright side. Yes, definitely. Silver lining there. And was there no sugar in your daughter's house then?
they are gluten free and mostly sugar free, and they don't have a lot of snacks and things like that. Plus, I couldn't walk that first 2 weeks without somebody knowing. I couldn't sneak and go in there and get anything, and I wasn't accustomed to eating in front of people the sugar. I would have a dessert or whatever, but I didn't then. I didn't because they were watching me. They weren't really like spying on me, but I think they were aware that I needed to be healthier because they knew I was diabetic. They knew I was on insulin. I had to really kind of start taking care of myself finally, and
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
So,
And
Yeah,
sometimes
2 weeks
it
is
takes,
like
a lot for us to stop, You had
it's
lots of
like a
signs.
tragedy almost for that for me to finally get it into my head
Yeah.
that I needed to stop the sugar. And I did. I stopped everything. And it was for a while I was afraid to taste it because I was afraid that it would send me into a binge.
Mm.
But now I don't even miss it. I don't miss it. I don't I still do. I like the sweet taste. I haven't, completely turned away from a sweet taste,
Mm.
but I don't crave a sweet taste. Just like every once in a while on a holiday when everybody else is having, the things that people have at Christmas time and things, I'll make a little bit of something with monk fruit just so that I can have a little of a sweet taste. But I don't do that very often. It's not a regular thing, and I don't crave it again once I have that. The monk
Uh-huh.
fruit does not send me on a binge or anything.
Okay.
It's
It doesn't trigger you or
no,
yeah.
no. So
Yeah, and it's great that you found your balance there,
right, right.
that nobody imposed it on you. You found it.
Yes, and I've been able to keep the weight off, and I walk every day, and I'm so much healthier. And when you have a little bit of a um, I don't want to call it craving because I don't ever have the craving like I used to have. But when you have that little bit of, I think I might like to have something sweet, I think, okay, how long would that thing make me feel good? If I ate that cookie or whatever, how long would that cookie make me feel good? And then I ask, how long will not eating it make me feel good? And
Hmm.
I think, okay, that answers my question. I know
Yeah,
that,
great.
my life is much better without it. So I
Yeah,
don't,
smashing reframe. That's lovely. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And are you still diabetic?
Well, I am diabetic, but because there is no real cure for diabetes, but they consider it to be reversed because I'm off of all insulin and off of all medication. And as long as I eat this way and exercise this way, I don't have to take anything for
Yeah.
my diabetes.
Yeah, I consider how you're eating normal.
Right. It is to finally, finally
Yeah.
after all these years.
Like you're eating in a way that doesn't make you sick, which in my
Right.
humble opinion is normal, though I don't think our food should be making us sick.
Right.
And so it's like, as long as I carry on eating this way, for me, it's like, well, what other way would there be? The alternative is to eat in a way that would make you sick.
Exactly. And speaking of sick, I have not had, I don't know if this is because of no sugar. I can't say because I have no scientific evidence, but I have not been sick since 2021. I have not had a cold. I have not been sick since then. And I think it has something to do with it because I'm eating more, healthy and wholesome foods. I don't eat pasta, potatoes. There's, a lot of things I can't eat because I'm diabetic. If you're not diabetic, you probably could get away with eating a potato now and then and things like that. But and I drink a lot of water.
Yeah. Yes. And do you miss, well, do you feel that you are denying yourself or restricting anything?
No, I feel like I denied myself health all those years because and I at first um, had a little problem with not eating in my car. I when you were talking about the chocolate bars in your
Yep.
car, I thought, so me, because that's where I used to have my binges is in the car.
Uh-huh.
And so at first, I I had to really be careful about how I did things in the car when I was by myself. But now I don't. I just drink water and I listen to podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah, now you use your car to go from A to B and not as some kind of a snack bar.
Right, but I I drive 2 hours twice a week, I go to my daughter's house and take care of my grandbaby. We have since had a grandbaby since I went sugar free, which is a blessing because if
Congrats.
if this had happened in 2020, I couldn't have gotten up and down on the floor with her. I couldn't play with her like I do. And so I take care of her for 2 days every week. And so I travel there on Monday evening and I come home on Wednesday evening. And there have been a couple of times that I will stop to go to the restroom at a store. And I pass the aisle that has all the candy bars and all this stuff in it. And I look at it and I just smile because I think I don't need that anymore. Now, I will say I will get like a small bag of nuts or something like that once in a while because you get tired and it kind of helps you stay awake to have a little bit of something. But I'm not ever tempted to get the sugar anymore. Now, I'm not sure I could say that right after I started this, but now I'm to the point where I don't really care about it anymore. It's
It takes
wonderful. It's a
It's
wonderful.
wonderful. It's magic, and it takes a while
It
for.
does.
I often say that your body benefits from cutting sugar and is faster to readjust itself and your taste buds as well, faster than your brain. And your brain's memories, your fond
Yeah.
memories of sugar that, I think that have their place in your life, those memories take longer to sort of calm down.
Right.
And yeah, and so it takes a while for you not to want it, not to miss it.
But when people ask me how did you do this? How did you do this? Well, first of all, I had sort of a traumatic experience that caused this. But I honestly believe that if you're going to get off of sugar, the best way to get off of sugar is to get off of sugar. Because if you keep eating it, and especially if you're addicted to it, a lot of people are addicted to it and don't really realize that. But if you're addicted to it, it's almost impossible to just wean off of it. The best thing is to just stop, get off of it. Because my husband, for example, found out that he was allergic to gluten and he loves bread so much. And the gluten free bread was not nearly as palatable for him as the real bread,
Yeah, in air quotes.
And
Mm.
so he found that if he just stopped eating, for a while there, he would just eat a piece or two and then not, and then eat another piece or two. And he could never transition over to the gluten free bread because there was always that taste in his mind and in his mouth of real bread. And so that's kind of how it is with sugar. If you always have the taste there, you're going to want it all the time. But if you
Yes.
just stop it, yeah, the first couple of weeks are going to be hard for you, but seriously, it is so much faster to get away from it if you just stop it.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
That's been your experience and mine too, especially for abstainers like us. You
Right.
know, there are moderators who can gradually reduce and all more power to them. And
Yes.
basically, we need to recognize what our natural personality is like and what suits us. There's no one right way for everyone.
And
But
I'm kind of glad that I was a closet eater because my children, neither one of them are sugaraholics, I call them. They're not addicted. They both have really good um, relationships with food, and they can both eat some sugar now and then. And they're like moderators, like you were talking about. They can moderately have it now and then, and not gorge on it.
great.
But so I'm thankful that they didn't see me sitting all day eating sugar, because I think it may have been a different outcome for them if they had. So
Yeah.
I
Yes,
mean,
possibly. Yes, possibly. But you never know. And now they have a wonderful role model. Your grandbabies have a
yes,
wonderful role model also of someone that's not, doing this for any kind of moral reason that sugar's poison and blah, blah, blah. But you're doing that because you feel so much better.
Right. And and I've read so many books on what food manufacturers do to our food. And I just want to encourage my family and anybody who listens. I want to encourage you to do the best you can to eat as natural as you can, because it really is amazing what they do to our food. They add sugar to everything, and it's because it's so addicting. They know that if they add sugar to the potato chips, that you'll probably want potato chips again from
Yeah.
and it, it's it's everywhere. Everywhere you look is sugar.
Yeah, especially in the United States, I would say it's even worse.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews, and when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. And you were talking about intermittent fasting just before. You mentioned it. How did you get into intermittent fasting?
well, I have this problem when I'm working. I'll get a little bit tired. I start going down these rabbit holes on the internet. That's how I kind of found you.
Ah, I'm a rabbit hole.
But some of them are good, and some of them end up being very educational. So I'm not going to complain. But anyway, I was doing that, and I ran across this young lady that was very animated and you know drew me into watching her. And I found her again and again and again, and she talked about intermittent fasting, and I never really heard of it. And so I started doing some research. I guess you call it research, but reading. And I came across Dr. Jason Fung, and I came across, a couple of others. And I thought, I can do this because, first of all, I've never been a breakfast eater. I like breakfast food, but I would eat it at lunch or dinner or whatever. And I never got up at 8 in the morning. And so that was kind of easy for me to get started in it. And then the more I did it, the more energy I seemed to have. And that doesn't make sense really to me, that you don't eat, but you have more energy. But I
Mm.
know there are, studies about it and that kind of thing, but it worked for me. And so I've done a couple of 48-hour fasts. 48 hours is the most I've ever done. And I don't do that all the time. I just do it. And I don't do it to lose weight. I do it just it cleanses me, and it just feels good to just not have to focus on food all the time.
Yeah.
Food is my fuel, and treats and rewards and things come from other places now rather than food. I go and get my nails done, or I go and get a new shirt. Now that I can go in and fit the smaller sizes, it's really fun. I do things that are different than I used to do. I used to say, "Oh, that deserves a little box of demi cakes or whatever," and I don't do that anymore. And so,
Wow. Fantastic. And do you not get hungry during a long fast?
no, I really don't. That's amazing. I don't. Try to finish by about 7 in the evening. On the days that I travel, it's a little bit later because I don't get home till 8 or so. So I have a little bit of not really a meal when I get home because I don't like to eat that late, but I have a little bit of something when I get home. And then I don't eat again until like 2 the next day. I try to do 16 to 18 hours as a regular. And then once in a while I do 24. And then once in a while, like twice or three times I've done 40 and 48, but I only do that just for, I really do that more for fun than I do, than I do for, regular. But it's kind of fun for me to see how long I can go because I have an app. You have an app and it tells you how long you're going. So
Yes, yes, a bit of a challenge. And it's like most people, i.e., people who do eat sugar, I would say, would imagine that a 48-hour period of not eating is the farthest thing from fun that they can imagine.
I know, I know. It doesn't sound like it would be fun, does it? But it really kind of is. It is. And if you make it into a challenge for yourself, it does become fun. It's like anything else that you make into a challenge, it just becomes
Yeah.
fun.
And when you say challenge, does that mean you're white knuckling it, or do you mean it's like a game?
A game, more of a game. Yeah. I have the app, and after I sleep I look at it. Oh, I have already gone 12 hours. I can do this, and it's and I do challenges with myself a lot. Like I do a walking challenge and see how many miles I can go that month, or it just kind of keeps me on track, and it keeps me, you know, vibrant and healthy and doing something. It's just kind of fun for me.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Can I ask you how old you are?
I will be 67 in August.
Wow, you look great.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah,
I feel great. I do. I feel great. I feel better now than I did when I was 40. That's
amazing.
interesting. It is amazing.
It is
When I was
amazing.
40, I was carrying around a lot more weight,
Yes, you said you lost 85 pounds.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
if you go back, if you go, it's after we, decided to do this, I went back some of my medical records, and if you go back a little bit further than the 2021, I've lost 93 pounds. And you think you see all these people on the TikTok and Instagram, and they've lost 100 pounds in 8 months, or they've lost 100 pounds. Everybody's lost 100 pounds, and I'm like, I can't say that. But I didn't need to lose 100 pounds, but it was, I can't be famous because I lost 100 pounds.
Yeah, I think you might as well be famous for other things than losing
Yeah, that's right.
it.
But anyway,
Did all your reading and your research help you to understand why you had those pounds to lose in the first place?
well, I mean, it's it's because, well, part of it is genetics, I think, but a lot of it is because of all the sugar I ate. Because when I stopped the sugar, the pounds started coming off,
Yeah.
and my blood sugar started going too low. And I had to consult with my doctor because my blood sugar went down to 37 one night, and I couldn't think, and I couldn't formulate a sentence. And, it was scary. And after that is when we started weaning me off of the insulin. And it was just, I, I, I don't, I know that part of it has to be genetics, but I don't know what percentage, is genetics, and what percentage is how you live your life, because my mother and my sister are both very, very, very thin, and like 5'2" and 105 pounds, My brother is also very thin. But my dad was overweight, and I evidently got my dad's side of the family. And I had to watch every single thing that I ate because I would gain weight overnight, you know. But my my sister recently sold her house and had a estate sort of sale and got rid of a lot of stuff because she became disabled, which is a whole other story. But anyway, um, she had a very pretty shirt in her closet. And I said, "Ooh, I've always liked this." And she goes, "Well, you can have it." I said, "Katrina, I would never be able to wear that shirt." She goes, "You would be surprised." Because I didn't look at myself as a thin person yet,
Mhm.
And so she said, just try it on. And I tried it on and it fit me and
Wow.
I wear it. And that was a turning point for me because you know how, well, you probably don't because you never really have had a huge weight problem, but from what I have, read and heard
Yes,
from you.
that's right.
But after you lose a lot of weight, you don't look at yourself as thin. Even if you are, you don't look at it. You still
Yes,
look in the mirror and see the heavy person. And until that moment when I tried on her, because I knew she was thin. So if I could wear her things, I must be thin too. And I'll
uh,
never forget that day because I was traveling, back east to where she lived. And I tried on the shirt and then I would take it off. And then a couple hours later, I'd go in and I'd say, does it still fit me? And I'd try it again. And so your body takes a while to catch up.
exactly,
Your mind actually takes a little while to catch up with your body. And
exactly.
so all of these things together have just been so, what a blessing. I mean, I wish that I would have done it, of course, many years ago, but I didn't. So
Yeah.
I have to enjoy it while I have it now.
Yeah, well, better late than never, and it's never
Exactly.
too late.
Exactly. It's never too late, not even if you're 67.
Yeah, and it's it may be tough. I don't know. It may be tougher the older we get, because the longer we've had with all these other habits that we need to
Yes,
change.
yes,
But at the same time, it's like the more ready we are.
exactly. I think so. I think so. And I wasn't out to prove anything to anybody except myself, and
Yes.
I think that helped as well.
Yes, that's
But
the advantage of getting older.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. You can kind of speak your mind a little bit as long as you're not cruel. I mean, some
Right.
people do get cruel, but as long as you're not cruel, you can speak your mind in a kind way and not feel bad for it like you might have when you were younger. But
Absolutely. Yeah. Amazing. It's an amazing story.
I don't know how hard it would have been for me to go off of the sugar if I hadn't had the accident that I had.
Mm.
I don't know if that would have been. I don't know that I would have ever done it. I
Yeah.
really don't. Of course, we don't have any idea what we would have done. But I'm thankful that at least if I had to go through that accident, that something good came out of it. And it really
Absolutely.
has. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And that something good has a ripple effect because you're feeling better. You are a role model for your children, your grandchildren. And by
Yes.
being on this podcast, you are now inspiring hundreds, if not thousands of people.
That's that I've been really dealing with. What do I do with this? Because you know, I make little videos and reels about walking because walking is so healthy. And if you walk every day, chances are you're going to say, well, I'm walking every day. I probably should eat a little better, and you don't want to mess up all the walking you've done by overeating. So it's kind of a ripple effect of how you um, get a little bit healthier, healthier, healthier. If you just start out with 10 minutes of walking a day,
Yeah,
and it's so good for you. It's, good for your heart. It's good to prevent osteoporosis. It's good for so many things. And if you just, so I tell everybody every day, get out there and walk, get out there and walk. Rather than preaching to them about what they're eating, I
yeah,
figured that the eating part might come naturally if they start the walking part. That's my
fantastic.
that's my
Yes, totally. Yeah, wonderful. I often say, be the example. You don't have to preach and
right.
pontificate and, try to convince anyone. Be the example.
And give them information and they have to deal with it the way that they feel is right for them. Yeah.
Bingo. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. You're very inspiring, for all kinds of reasons, of which that one.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And
No.
so are you.
Oh,
This has been great. You have been very inspiring to me because it's nice to know that there is a whole group of people out there that actually want to do this.
yes. And, I would argue that, as you were saying, that most of their lives, they don't want to do this. But
Right.
once they, pardon the pun, but once they get a taste of sugar-free living, it's
Right.
like, oh my gosh, what have I been missing? I didn't know what feeling good felt like.
And also, if I may say that if you are trying to get off of sugar, and going back to the walking thing, if you're trying to get off of sugar and you're in your kitchen and there's stuff there that you'd really like to eat, but you're really trying, just get your shoes on and go out and take a walk. I mean, it's the sun, the vitamin D, everything is so good for you that probably after 10 minutes or so, you're not going to have that craving.
Yes, yes. There's an exercise that we do in the program that I have that is, it's kind of like counting the seconds. How long can you stand being uncomfortable with the craving? And it's a question of seconds and then it passes. But
Yeah.
during those seconds, that's where the suffering is.
It's not hours of your life, it's only seconds of your life.
Yeah.
And if you get your mind focused on something else, it passes. It really does pass.
It does. Yes, yes, yes. And it's just
It's a wonderful
experiencing that.
feeling to not have to be a slave to sugar. It
It's
really
it's
is.
liberating, isn't it?
It is. It is very liberating. And I can live my life, I feel like I can live my life more honestly now
Mm.
because I'm not hiding anything. And you were talking about, I loved it when you were talking to your daughter about, I went back to episode one. I'm up to the hundreds yet. But I remember vividly you talking to your daughter when she was, I think, 12 or
Yes,
something.
yes.
And it's nice not to see chocolate bars in your car, Mom. I just thought that was sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got such a huge ripple effect, including those kinds of things that you wouldn't think like that anyone would notice.
I didn't realize what you had gone through was part of sugar either, because I didn't have the gut, I didn't have any, symptoms like that. But I didn't realize that that was part of it until after you did that. I started reading some more, and it really can cause a lot of intestinal issues. I
Definitely.
didn't realize, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was more to do with my digestion than it was to do with my extra weight.
Exactly,
But
exactly,
it's like it made me suffer all the same, there's not just
exactly. But if people are having that, that's one place that you can maybe make some difference and help yourself.
absolutely,
It doesn't always have
absolutely
to be about losing 85 pounds.
amazing. It's amazing, all those benefits that you've experienced. And you cut white sugar and white flour.
Yes, I only use nut if I want to use flour at all, which is very. I'm not a big baker and stuff anyway. But if I like at Christmas time, like I was telling you, I do a few things, and I always use almond flour, and almond is my go-to flour. But there's all kinds of nut flours. There's cashew flour. There's all kinds of nut flours, but almond is my favorite. And I use that, and I use the monk fruit as a sweetener.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it'll call cup for cup sugar or monk fruit, and I never use a whole cup of monk fruit. I will use three-fourths or a half because I don't need that horrible sweetness anymore. It used to be people would say, "Oh, that's so rich," and I would go, "I've never met anything that's too rich for me,"
Yes.
But
Yes.
now I have. It does make a difference. Your taste buds are different,
So
but
totally,
yeah,
totally.
I don't need the extra sweet, but I still like a little bit of sweet, and that satisfies it. I don't have the craving, and it's
Fantastic.
amazing. It's amazing.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Dana, for sharing your
This has
story.
been so much fun because you are so inspiring to me because I found somebody that was like me.
Yeah, there's
And
plenty of us, and I'd just like to shine a light on all of the different types of people living their different types of sugar-free lives.
right, right. And it's so inspiring. Thank you so much for
Thank
doing this.
you.
And I can't wait to get through the rest of your podcast.
Got your work cut out for you. There's almost 200 episodes.
I know. And I've got a lot of walking miles to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, walk and listen to the Life After Sugar podcast.
That's what I
Recipe for
do.
success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wow, what an inspiring conversation with Dana. And it just goes to show that we are all different, but the unexpected power of cutting refined sugar and grains, whether or not you're diabetic, especially for abstainers. Now, you may not even know if you're an abstainer or not, but Life After Sugar is a voyage of self-discovery with a wonderful destination that you may not even imagine yet. But as Dana was mentioning, it's tough to get there on your own. And that's why I created the Freedom from Cravings Formula program. It's a program that's specifically designed for women over 50 who want to get rid of cravings and feel more in control around food, especially sugar and comfort foods. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you get control over cravings so that you can finally live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly and feel confident in your food choices so that you can ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never feel like you're on some kind of a restrictive diet. If you're at the stage of your life where you're finally ready to look after yourself, let's chat. You can hop on a free clarity call with me at any time by going to aftersugarclub.com and clicking on the big green button, Schedule a Clarity Call. We'll have a quick 30-minute one-on-one chat to see if the Freedom from Cravings Formula 90-day program is a good fit for you. So go to aftersugarclub.com. Speak soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.